You are watching special reports here on TVRI World. This morning we come to you live with the entire deliberation of the first ever finance ministers and central bank governors meeting taking place here in Jakarta. Initially to be held in the island of the gods, Bali, but then again Indonesia is currently facing its third wave of COVID-19 pandemic, particularly with the Omicron variant. The decision has been made. The meeting will now take place in the capital Jakarta, and to be precise at Jakarta Convention Center. And here on TVRI World this morning we'll bring you the entire deliberations. We'll take a look at the key points and key takeaways from the remarks during the opening ceremony of the first finance ministers and central bank governors meeting in Jakarta Convention Center, and most importantly in-depth analysis on the key takeaways with economic experts in the studio. I'm Rahmat Idris. This is Special Report. Well, recover together, recover stronger as the main theme of the G20 Indonesia's presidency will be translated this morning into the first ever finance ministers and central bank governors meeting taking place here in Jakarta. We will see how the finance ministers from the 19 countries as well as European Union will come up with strategies, particularly boosting economic growth post the pandemic of COVID-19 that we are currently facing. And different parts of the world have already recovered in some way in terms of economic growth, and Indonesia is still ongoing strong. And we'll look forward to the strategies being pushed, being discussed, being put on the table by the ministers this morning for the first ever ministerial level meeting on the finance tracks as one of the two main tracks at the G20 events here in Indonesia. And as I mentioned earlier, the entire deliberation this morning will take place here in the capital Jakarta at Jakarta Convention Center. And in just a few moments, the first meeting will commence. And we have our very own Monica Coronado standing by at the JCC with the live updates, with the latest informations on things prepared ahead of the initial meeting of the finance ministers and central bank governors. Let's see if I can get in touch with my colleague there, Monica Coronado at Jakarta Convention Center. Monica, if you can hear me, what more can you tell us about the preparation this morning? Did the communique yesterday make it in time to be delivered this morning for the finance ministers and central bank governors meeting? Monica.
Good morning, Idris. After the second Finance and Central Bank Deputies meeting held in Jakarta 15 until 16 of February, and then today, 17 February 2022, the communique that is formulated on this meeting will be handed over and be discussed by the minister in the first Finance Minister and Central Bank Governors meeting held in the same location in Jakarta starting today until tomorrow. And we could inform you that the first day agenda will start with welcome remarks by Sri Mulyani, the G20 Finance Minister of Indonesia, and then followed by highlight agenda of the G20 Indonesian Presidency led by Perry Warjiyo, the Governor of Bank Indonesia, and then we will listen to the keynote speech from President of Republic Indonesia, Presiden Jokowi Widodo, and then it will be continued with a closed session. And the first session will be discussing the global economy and health. It will be led by Sri Mulyani, the G20 Finance Minister of Indonesia. And then the second session, the minister will discuss about the international financial architecture. The third session is about financial sector issues. And both sessions, the second and the third session, will be led by Perry Warjiyo, the G20 Central Bank Governor of Indonesia. And then after lunch, there will be a high-level seminar open for public and the media that will be discussing about the strengthening global health architecture. And then, meanwhile, we could inform you the current situation in this occasion where I am at right now, which is in Jakarta Convention Center. You could see on your screen or behind me, we are still all waiting for all of the ministers and delegates from the countries to arrive in this occasion. Meanwhile, also, we could inform you early this morning about 7 a.m. Our host, whose country, the leader of this meeting, who is Sri Mulyani, the G20 Finance Minister of Indonesia, has already arrived on this occasion. And then also some of the ministers and delegates will be present in person, while some others will join virtually, because this meeting is held implementing the hybrid system to ensure the safety of all the delegates and also the ministers from the COVID-19. And up until now, it is confirmed that the first day meeting will start soon at 8 a.m. local time. That's all we could report from Jakarta Convention Center. Monica Conado reporting for G20 Highlights. Back to you at the studio.
Well, Monica Conado there with the live updates, the latest reports on the heels of the first ever finance ministers and central governors banks meetings at the Jakarta Convention Center. Thank you very much for the updates. Monica, we'll look forward to more information coming from you and the JCC. Thank you very much indeed. And as was conveyed by Monica Conado just now, we can see that scheduled to be speaking at the opening ceremony of the first finance ministers and central bank governors meeting today is our very own finance ministers of the Republic of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani Indrawati, and to be continued also by the reporting remarks of the governor of Bank Indonesia, the central bank of the country, Perry Warjiyo, and later on today we'll look forward to the key issues being pushed forward for the finance track meeting through the keynote remarks and also the opening sessions by the President of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Joko Widodo. And as was conveyed to the media a day ahead of today's finance meeting, again and again, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani, has reiterated that 6 priority issues will be pushed forward throughout the meetings of finance tracks here in Indonesia, in line with the presidency of the G20 of Indonesia. The main 6 priority issues will include exit strategy towards economic growth post the pandemic, as well as addressing scoring effects that have been made throughout the 2 years of Indonesia's and 19 other member states of G20 have been experiencing during the pandemic, and also to secure future growth and payment system in digital area. We've seen how the digital economy has been boosted throughout the pandemic, and we look forward to more of the digital growth in the future. And also included in the main priority issues during the finance track meeting here in the country is the sustainable finance, digital finance inclusion, and also international taxation. So a lot on the table to be discussed. We'll delve into a specific theme of the first ever finance ministers and central bank governors meeting today by talking to our economic experts joining us from Yogyakarta, Indonesia. She is the Indonesian economist who's also Indonesian Academy of Sciences from Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta. It is my delight to welcome this morning to the conversation Professor Dr. Sri Adiningsih. Good morning, Prof. Sri.
Good morning, Idris.
It's very good to see you this morning. How is Yogyakarta ahead of the third wave of pandemic now?
Oh yeah, of course we got that problem. But today is beautiful day. It's sunny. It's great. I'm happy.
Same weather here in Jakarta. It is a delight to see you this morning, Prof. Sri. As I mentioned over and over during the opening of our program, is that economic growth, exit strategies post the pandemic is one of the key issues being pushed forward for the first ever ministerial level meeting here in Jakarta. But as you see, that economic growth alone is not the only topic. There's also words of sustainability and inclusion there. So what do you think will be the main focus and the main expectation as a result from the finance minister today, Professor?
Okay, thank you, Idris. I think that G20 actually is forum of group of 20, yeah. Consensus building. It's not really binding, but of course, because G20 is really big economic forum, yeah, more than 80% GDP, world GDP. So we expect, yeah, because the countries in that group really play important role in the world. So the gathering of them, consensus making, then communicate is not binding, but we expect that because the pandemic now even is recovering, but not really finished yet, not really have recovered. So exit strategy, yeah, to support recovery and also addressing scaring effect, yeah, to secure future growth is really important because now even almost all country in the group has been slowly recovering, but it's not the same. Some country actually like China, I mean, it's growth even last year, it actually 8.1%, but
Yeah.
of course like Indonesia, around 3%, but some countries still, because the pandemic haven't finished yet, so we are still in struggle how to secure recovering in future. And of course, it's not just pandemic because we understand now that like commodity price hiking and also actually inflation, even in the US, 7.5% January, yeah, and interest rate slowly. Some country has already increasing, yeah, the interest rate, but of course, yeah, and also other country, I believe Federal Reserve Fund, yeah, would also increase interest rate, and the impact also would be significantly not just for Indonesia but also on the world. That's why it's very important this time the group of 20 to meet and to securing the exit strategy and also recovering in the future, and also how to because the pandemic and there is some scaring effect, yeah?
All right.
Some cities and countries, so it's very important to discuss, to commit together and consensus.
Right. Professor Sri, it is certainly relieving when you say that we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel here. You mentioned that interest rate is recovering, economic growth in many countries are also starting to show positive growth as well. And you also mentioned that the G20, as a matter of fact, represents over 85% of world economy and 65% of global populations and 79% of international trade. How do you think the finance track meeting today will have a significant impact towards economic growth, towards economic recovery globally post the pandemic?
Well, yeah, of course, because this group is really play important role in the world economy. So we expect that the meeting and the following meeting would come out with really, solution, yeah, communicate, which not binding, but at least the consensus. And once they have committed, they would really deliver what they have been committed in that communique. For example, like, that actually because of the increasing commodity price and also inflation, even in the US, 7%, 7.5%, So we understand that finally, slowly, countries would increasing interest rate. And, I hope that they could reach consensus that even they will rise interest rate, but need to be coordinate, cooperative, yes, not just considering domestic economy, but also the world economy, because we are now it's not cannot just, when taking action policies, cannot just, only consider the interest of national economy, but also the world economy, because actually we are binding one of the other actually is not just neutral, yeah. So if we would love to recover together and stronger, so we need cooperate, yeah. Not just considering domestic economy, but also global, yeah, and also not just economy, also the life of people globally.
Professor Sri, what do you think are the key components in order to be able to recover the economic growth here in Indonesia post the pandemic? We talk about fiscal policy to boost the small, medium enterprises in the country and around the world, and also taxations. These two things will truly determine economic growth in one particular country, particularly here in Indonesia post the pandemic, where we can see that affordability of the people has significantly lowered, and a lot of people from different sectors have been fired from their jobs. How exactly do we recover from this in light with the finance ministers meeting today and also the central bank governors?
I do expect that, because in Indonesia, 99% business actually SMEs, yeah. And of course, we expect that the policy they are taking, yeah, also the fiscal, yeah, support, and not just fiscal support, but also monetary, financial, and even the digital transformation, yeah, because they all would play important role regarding the sustainability and the life of the SMEs, because SMEs now actually should transform into, omnichannel, yeah, digital and offline, yeah. And of course need to be supported by government, not just infrastructure, but also the human, yeah, because they need to be more literate, because only around 20% Indonesian SMEs has been literate digitally, yeah. And of course, like you mentioned before, fiscal play very important role, yeah. Now, like we understand that credit, yeah, for SMEs with special support is very important. It's really help them, and even it's interesting in Indonesia that government also support yeah, startup, and also the kartu prakerja, yeah, also helps in some extent the growing of a business, SMEs, help them to also strengthen their capacity to use not just digital, also marketing in their product. Yeah, so it's really play important role in this case the fiscal and also support from government.
Right. Professor Adiningsih, it is certainly interesting when you mention digital transformation as a part, an important part of economic growth here in the country, because we see that during the pandemic, digital transactions are going through the roof. We see that everyone's buying things online in a significant number. Do you think that we are absolutely ready to fully embrace digital transformations in terms of digital economy here in the country?
Idris, actually, more, I think around 20 million people has been, doing business or working, actually like even e-commerce, yeah. Now, just for example, Tokopedia, Bukalapak, I believe it's more than 10 million, maybe has been 14 million each of them, and also even Ojek Online, yeah, also for Ojek, I believe more than 2 my Pino has been reached to 3 billion. I mean, just imagine that also a lot of young people, even in the rural area. I know some of my friend or daughter or children of my friends using e-commerce from like in Jakarta or also in Bantul. Yeah, so it's really, we cannot refuse, we cannot avoid. Yeah, we should and have to embrace digitalization, but of course we need to prepare at least like the resources, human resources and infrastructure, because that the future of economy, disruption has been come slowly, sector by sector. First media, of course you understand Pak Idris, and then e-commerce, fintech, then finally all economic will be disrupted using digitalization. And even now, if you follow it, actually it's not just digitalization, not becoming virtual, metaverse, NFTs, has been come out. So, the process and, the disruption and also transformation moving forward and would go, faster. So we in Indonesia, in general, the youngest people with higher education live in the city, West Indonesia, more ready, readier than East Indonesia. There is digital divide, of course, and that's our challenge. But of course, I hope that government and even also in G20, when they are discussing about digital transformation, should put important issue like digital divide, because it's really serious problem. And actually with digitalization, if the digitalization and resources, like human resources ready, could be to more equalize the development and also the progress, economic development more even, but of course with digital divide, that would be able, if not anticipate and also provide with ready policy. I really worry that it would be able to increase inequality in all aspects of our life. That's why I hope that in G20, digital divide issue need to be resolved, because it's not just in Indonesia. I read that even in advanced country, there is kind of digital divide. But of course, in a country like Indonesia, it's really more serious than them.
All right.
So,
All right. It's good to see that you mentioned the digital divide, and we do hope that that particular issue will be brought up in the meeting of the finance ministers and central bank governors later today. But also on the table throughout the meetings that have been over and over conveyed to the media is the sustainability aspect of finance, Professor, and also a green economy. How we can ensure sustainability is on the table and keeps on going for the future growth of economy. What do you think are the potential risks of the transitions of Indonesia towards digital economy and sustainable finance?
Pak Idris, actually, it's really important issue, because we understand that finance to support sustainable development, and also digitalization is very important. We understand, like, the investment to support the green economy, or green energy, actually potentially a lot, but of course not that like we expect, because that until now the price of non-renewable energy cheaper than renewable energy. So need to be supported by government. And some country, they also, support the energy, even non-renewable and renewable energy. But I hope that supporting renewable energy and also how to give like financially support, not just fiscal, but also policy support for finance to support the energy, green energy, also green economy need to be also. I hope that would be discussed there because always be an issue because green energy, and renewable energy actually still much higher than non-renewable energy.
All right.
And of course, I understand that investor will not interested in to invest if just take a look at the price.
All right. Thank you very much, Indonesian economist of Universitas Gadjah Mada, Professor Sri Adiningsih, for your insights this morning. We truly appreciate it. We are going to go live now to Jakarta Convention Center. And again, we bid adieu and thank the professor for the information and the knowledge for us this morning. And just recently you saw on the screen there the live pictures from Jakarta Convention Center, where the first finance ministers and central bank governors meeting of the G20 is soon to start momentarily. And we see that our very own finance minister, Sri Mulyani, is already standing by at the conference room to start the meeting. And right, we look forward to the live pictures. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sri Adiningsih, once again for the conversation with us here on the G20 Highlights.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Professor Dr. Sri Adiningsih there joining us from Yogyakarta, and that was conversations and an in-depth analysis on what to expect from today's meeting of the first finance ministers and central bank governors meeting of the G20. A few key takeaways there during the conversations with Professor was that how green economy plays such a relevant part. Key issues also during the finance ministers meeting today, and we see that on the screen. This is the live picture you are currently looking at the room of Jakarta Convention Center, the round table of finance ministers and central bank governors meeting to be taking place in just a few moments. And we hear announcements made by the master of ceremony there, inviting everyone to be on standing by, as in just a few moments the meeting will commence. And we look forward to the remarks of the finance ministers of the Republic of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani Indrawati, to be delivered later on during the opening ceremony. Some key takeaways that have been probably conveyed, delivered to the media. And there she is, our very own finance ministers of the Republic of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani Indrawati, who will be also opening the deliberation today alongside the governor of Bank Indonesia, the Central Bank of Indonesia. And to the media a while ago, our ministers have conveyed that this is an excellent opportunity for Indonesians and other member states of the G20 to further put on the table and encourage and promote, rather, policy reforms to support stronger, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive economic growth. A couple of keywords there, sustainability and inclusions, we hear over and over again throughout the G20 deliberations from different side events, and this is one of the main events of the G20. And as you can see, that the finance minister and central bank governors meeting today will also try to translate the key issues, the three main highlights pushed forward by the government of the Republic of Indonesia for its presidency, which are the global health architecture in response to the COVID-19 pandemic that a lot of the world, as a matter of fact, is currently facing at the moment, and also another key topic and highlights pushed forward by the government is on the sustainable energy transitions and digital transformations. And as we discussed earlier with Professor Sri Mulyani, was that digital transformations require a lot of works, not only infrastructures around Indonesia to be built, to be established, but also in between member states of the G20. We have 19 countries, world major economies, and European Union can close the gap of digital transformation. Digital gap, as mentioned by the professor earlier, is one key thing that needs to be addressed on the table for the meeting today. And again, you can see on the screen, and that is the live picture from the conference rooms of Jakarta Convention Center here in the capital Jakarta, where in just a few moments, the first ever ministerial level finance minister and central bank governors from 19 countries and European Union will take place. Yesterday, the organizer of the meeting has conveyed to the media information that over 3,500 participants will take part both in person at the venue and also, most importantly, virtually from around the globe, meaning that this is a hybrid event. We have almost 150 delegates being there in person to take part in the meeting, and also thousands others joining virtually. And now let's listen in to what Minister of Finance Sri Mulyani has to say.
Yang terhormat Bapak Jokowi Widodo, Presiden of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Perry Warjiyo, Governor of Bank Indonesia, my dear colleague finance ministers as well as central bank governors, head of delegation, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all of you. Good afternoon for those of you in a different time zone. It is really my great pleasure to welcome you all here to the first meeting of the G20 Finance Minister and Central Bank Governors under Indonesia 2022 Presidency. We are pleased that some of you were able to join us in person today, while some others are joining virtually. I do hope that all of you are enjoying our hospitality. For those of you who are joining virtually, we hope that you may be able to attend a meeting in Indonesia in the near future. Colleague ministers and governors, since we last met, the global economy is continuing to recover, but there are factors that are impacting the pace of the recovery. These include higher food and energy prices, potential increases of interest rate, and the threat of new COVID-19 variants, supply chains disruption, natural disaster due to climate change, and growing geopolitical tension. After a contraction of 3.3% in 2020, the IMF projected that the global economy would grow by 5.9% in 2021, but then moderated to 4.4% in 2022. As we are all witnessing, the global economy has been recovering, but definitely this recovery process is not even and not easy. The emergence of the new variant Omicron has also contributed to heightened uncertainty in the global economy. And like previous variant of COVID-19, that is affecting countries at different times, the divergence of capacity to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic, including the vaccine rollout across countries, are major factors that are leading to the uneven recovery. These factors will, of course, shape the global economic landscape ahead. Indonesia has become president of the G20 at this uniquely challenging time. On the one hand, we must follow through on our commitment to tackle global health challenges to help countries manage the impact of COVID and other new variants that may emerge. On the other hand, we also must manage other new risks which is emerging. Managing the economic and financial impact of the pandemic and improving equitable vaccine access remain a priority. This is also to broaden and strengthen the global recovery process and to ensure we recover together and we recover stronger. Directing vaccine to where they are most needed is crucial to bringing the pandemic under control and reducing the likelihood of the new variant. In addition to this, to the asynchronous recovery process that poses near-term risks, we also have to be very vigilant to many new elements of risk. Inflation risks remain skewed to the upside, driven by supply chain disruption, labor market mismatches, wage pressure, and higher energy prices. These measures have been more persistent than previously expected, and if not dealt with properly, could increase the risk of de-anchoring of inflation expectation and impede recovery. While there is a higher likelihood that inflation expectation no longer remain anchored, this needs to be closely monitored to avoid the risk from materializing. Furthermore, there is risk that our macro fiscal policy setting within economies may not adequately balance continued policy support in the midst of more limited fiscal space. Countries' domestic macroeconomic policy may also cause adverse impact for other economies. Divergent economic recovery may have significant implications since it can lead to a different pace of policy normalization and potentially create a tighter global financial condition. In this regard, global coordination, including a discussion on exit strategy, will be critical. I really want to underline the spirit of cooperation and collaboration are certainly very critical at this very challenging time. To achieve a smooth recovery and achieve a strong, sustainable balance and inclusive growth, there is also a pressing need to address problems that are bound to leave enduring economic scars. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to profound global economic disruption, both on the supply side and the demand side. As history suggests, such disruption include high unemployment, weak investment, low productivity, and if not addressed properly and rapidly, we are bound to leave long-lasting scars. These scars can hold back private sector recovery as well as cause long-lasting impact on public finances. It can also affect both the real sector as well as financial sectors. Ultimately, this will hamper progress towards strong and resilient economic growth. Against this background, As the world moves toward recovery, there is an urgent need to address risks stemming from exiting policy support and scarring effect. It is important to ensure countries recover together to avoid the build-up of imbalances. Policy ahead should develop well-calibrated, well-planned, and well-communicated exit strategy, and also identifying strategies for overcoming scarring effects and ensure that economic growth is inclusive, that no one left behind. The pandemic also provides us with a harsh reminder of the vulnerability of our global economy of non-traditional shock. Climate change could pose even a bigger threat than the pandemic. The G20 must play a role in combating climate change, not just to reduce carbon emission, but also finding ways to raise and direct more financing for sustainable investment, as well as technologies that facilitate climate action. We need to commit to a just and affordable transition, and again, within this challenge, the spirit of cooperation and collaboration are very critical. We also have to strengthen the global health architecture during Indonesia G20 presidency. We have prioritized 3 major issues in our effort to strengthen the global health architecture. First, to build a global health system resilience. Second, we need to harmonize global health protocol standards. And lastly, we need to expand global manufacturing hub for vaccine, therapeutic, and diagnostic to developing countries. We also need to share knowledge for pandemic preparedness in a health crisis. We believe that the G20 should be at the leading role to achieve stronger global health architecture. We also have the opportunity to build back better with a recovery that delivers for the climate. Progressing sustainable financing initiative will be central to achieving this goal. We have to leverage international finance resources and unlock private sector investment if we are to realize the green transition that we so urgently needed. A key priority for our presidency is to accelerate energy transition toward a low-carbon global economy. This will require significant investment in sustainable infrastructure and advancing transition finance that will be key to making this a reality. In Indonesia case, we are preparing many policy frameworks to support sustainable finance initiative, including preparation for energy transition mechanism. We have a lot of coal, and we have a lot of coal plant. And that's why how we are going to transit into a more renewable and green energy in a just and affordable way is very critical. I think Indonesia is not alone in this case. Many other countries are facing the same challenge and task. The third is we should enhance our commitment to develop financial inclusion framework under the Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion and harness the benefit of digitalization with the objective of boosting productivity and fostering a sustainable and inclusive economy for women, youth, and medium-sized enterprises, medium and small-sized enterprises. Those 3 topics are the most important agenda to our Indonesia presidency in the G20. And I would like, in this case, to get the support from all of you so that we are going to be able to create legacy and contribute a good legacy and contribute to the global economic recovery process. As a leading international economic forum, G20 must confront climate change as a defining global importance. I'm pleased that we are, as a membership, have expressed a strong commitment to utilizing our full policy toolkit to address these very significant policy challenges. In my role as a co-chair for the Coalition of Finance Ministers for Climate Action, I urge you, my colleague, not to underestimate the impact we can have, and I welcome the willingness of the membership to consider fiscal, market, as well as regulatory mechanism to reduce carbon emission. The international financial architecture is another area that continues to deserve our attention. We have to enhance our effort to promote sustainable capital flow and strengthen financial resilience, including for low-income countries. We also need to embrace the efficiency of cross-border payment as well as the discussion on a digital currency. Ladies and gentlemen, today and tomorrow, we will discuss all these issues and many others in more detail. We hope that we have a tangible deliverables this year to address the challenges that we are facing. We want to show the world that the collective achievement of the G20 in dealing with this pressing issue, and I look forward to your support in achieving this goal. To be able to recover together, recover stronger, we definitely need to promote a strong collaboration and cooperation so that the world is going to be a better place for all of us to live. Thank you so much for all your attendance here. And I do hope you are going to enjoy your stay in Jakarta. This is certainly not Bali, but you are going to be pleasantly surprised that Jakarta is very green and also a very pleasant place for all of us to have a very productive meeting. So now I would like to invite Bapak Perry Warjiyo, Governor of Bank Indonesia, to highlight the agenda of the G20 Indonesia Presidency. Pak Perry.
Thank you, Minister Sri Mulyani. Your Excellency, Presiden Republik of Indonesia, Mr. Joko Widodo. My dear colleagues, Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati, Minister of Finance of Republic Indonesia. A very good morning, my fellows, Minister of Finance, Central Bank Governors, present today, as well as international organization that both present in this room as well as virtually. I would like to join Minister Sri Mulyani in welcoming all of you to our first Finance Minister and Central Bank Governors meeting held under the Indonesian G20 Presidency. I'm pleased that many of you are able to join us in person today, and I hope those who are joining
Yeah, we are currently watching the highlights agendas delivered by the Governor of Bank Indonesia, Perry Warjiyo, live
the COVID-19 pandemic. The world is still striving to contain the virus, with countries experiencing a resurgence in case numbers and dealing with the new variants. Completing vaccination up to this stage only covers a small fraction of the world population. not enough to create herd immunity, resulting in an uneven economic recovery. Besides disruption due to the pandemic, other strategic environment affecting the global economic today include climate change and natural disaster, which could lead to an environmental crisis. Amidst challenge faced, the role and leadership of the G20 is more important than ever, both to handle the root cause of the problem, such as to ensure sufficient production and distribution of COVID-19 vaccines, as well as to address other issues in the global strategic environment to set in motion for global economic recovery. Our resolve in tackling these issues will determine our path towards a strong, sustainable, and inclusive recovery, which sets the theme for Indonesian presidency: recover together, recover stronger. Under this theme, the finance track of the Indonesian presidency will focus on the 6 flagship agendas, which comprises of: first, exit strategy to support recovery; second, addressing scarring effect to secure future growth; third, payment system in the digital era; fourth, sustainable finance; fifth, financial inclusion; and the sixth, international taxation. Allow me to provide you a short brief of each agenda. First, on exit strategy to support recovery. Securing a stable exit from the pandemic is priority for policymakers across the globe. As recovery is underway, with some countries moving toward policy normalization earlier than others, the adjustment of their monetary policy, along with the withdrawal of stimulus, will shape the global economy. This would also potentially create a tighter global financial condition and may induce capital outflow from emerging markets. Against this background, the agenda on exit strategy will discuss on how the G20 can safeguard global recovery momentum from the negative spillover stemming from a synchronized exit policy and different pace of policy normalization through a well-calibrated, well-planned, and well-communicated exit strategy. Going further, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to profound global economic disruption, both on the supply and the demand side. Such disruption, such as high unemployment, weak investment, and low productivity, if not addressed properly, are bound to leave long-lasting scars. The scars can hold back recovery and hamper the progress toward strong and resilient economic growth. Therefore, there is an urgent need to address risks stemming from scarring effect. In this respect, discussing on addressing scarring effect to secure future growth will discuss on how the G20 can address the scarring effect stemming from the pandemic by calibrating the policy to boost productivity and investment, together with the strategy of labor and
Gio. We do
the
apologize for the
G20
technical difficulties,
endorsed
and let's
the
have a listen and more.
FSB roadmap for enhancing cross-border payments. The early stages of the roadmap implementation are being carried out, and the G20 needs to advance this work in 2022. Therefore, the agenda on payment system in the digital era will focus on two main topics on cross-border payment and CBDC. That is how G20 can promote a cheaper, faster, more transparent, and more accessible cross-border payment, and how G20 can forge a stronger collaboration to better understand the implication of CBDC on international monetary system, including on spillovers and capital flows. The pandemic is a harsh reminder that the global economy may be deeply affected by non-traditional shocks. Climate change could pose a bigger threat than the pandemic. Thus, we need to address the risk and build back better towards a green and sustainable recovery. However, as countries have different capacities and pace in addressing such issues, it is important that climate agenda also address the affordability of financing, technology, and know-how to move toward a just transition. Therefore, the agenda on sustainable finance will focus on how the G20 can promote a just and affordable transition toward a low-carbon economy and sustainable finance, both from the perspective of macroeconomy and financial stability. On financial inclusion, the pandemic has widened inequality, especially for the most vulnerable and underserved groups, including MSMEs. The expansion of digital payments and digital economy offers a path to improve access to finance for individuals and MSMEs, and this can bolster economic recovery. Under the financial inclusion, the Indonesia G20 Presidency will focus on digital financial inclusion and SME finance through ensuring the implementation of G20 2022 Financial Inclusion Action Plan (FIA), while promoting the use of digital technology to support a more inclusive economy. On international taxation, the strong collaboration and leadership of G20 countries and the OECD has helped deliver an historic agreement toward a more stable and fairer system of international taxation. Building on this agreement under the international taxation agenda, the G20 will advance
Just for the starting issues of the program, while we continue to listen in on the remarks from the Governor of Bank Indonesia, the central bank of the country, detailing on the agendas and highlights of the finance ministers'
inclusive,
meeting.
leaving no one behind, and pave the way towards a more sustainable future. Overall, the agenda for 2022 aims to ensure an inclusive, strong and sustainable recovery. We believe that G20's global leadership plays a critical role to accomplish this, and we hope to have a fruitful and constructive discussion today and tomorrow. I will end here. Thank you, and I pass back the floor to Minister Sri Mulyani.
Thank you, Pak Perry. We are going to have a very full and quite a lot of agenda ahead of us. So now we would like to watch the welcoming remarks video by our President, Bapak Jokowi Widodo, the President of the Republic of Indonesia. President Jokowi, unable to join us here today due to his prior agenda, but he has sent his warmest regard to all delegates joining this first Finance and Central Bank Governors meeting. So let us hear Bapak Presiden Jokowi Widodo. The screen is yours, Bapak Presiden.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang saya hormati Menteri Keuangan Republik Indonesia, yang saya hormati Gubernur Bank Indonesia, yang saya hormati para Menteri Keuangan dan Gubernur Bank Sentral negara-negara G20, para pemimpin lembaga keuangan internasional dan organisasi internasional, para hadirin dan undangan yang berbahagia. Sebagaimana saya katakan pada IMF World Bank Annual Meeting tahun 2018, the winter is coming. Dan saat ini, winter yang berat benar-benar datang. Pandemi belum berakhir, dan ekonomi dunia masih terguncang. Dalam situasi seperti ini, tidak ada satu negara pun yang bisa bangkit sendirian. Semua negara saling terkoneksi. Tidak ada yang terisolasi. Kebangkitan satu kawasan akan membangkitkan kawasan yang lainnya. Sebaliknya, keruntuhan satu kawasan akan ikut meruntuhkan kawasan yang lainnya. Dalam situasi yang seperti ini, bukan saatnya untuk rivalitas. Bukan saatnya untuk membuat ketegangan baru yang mengganggu pemulihan dunia, apalagi yang membahayakan keselamatan dunia, sebagaimana yang terjadi di Ukraina saat ini. Saat ini semua pihak harus menghentikan rivalitas dan ketegangan. Kita harus fokus untuk bersinergi, untuk berkolaborasi, menyelamatkan dan membangkitkan dunia tempat kita hidup untuk segera bangkit kembali, pulih kembali. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, ketidakpastian global harus kita hadapi dengan sinergi dan kolaborasi. Kita harus bekerja sama mengendalikan inflasi yang cenderung meningkat. Kita harus mengantisipasi kelangkaan dan kenaikan harga pangan. Kita harus mengatasi kelangkaan kontainer dan rantai logistik lainnya. Kita harus mencegah terjadinya kelaparan. Kita juga mempunyai tugas untuk melakukan beberapa transformasi. Kita harus mempercepat proses transisi menuju ekonomi baru. Kita harus mempercepat transformasi digital yang merata dan terjangkau, dan kita harus mendukung kebangkitan UMKM. Pertemuan antar Menteri Keuangan dan Gubernur Bank Sentral dari negara-negara G20 ini pasti bisa merumuskan langkah-langkah kebijakan fiskal dan moneter yang saling bersinergi antar negara untuk menyelesaikan permasalahan kita bersama, permasalahan dunia. Kita harus berkolaborasi untuk menangani isu-isu strategis global tersebut dengan capaian-capaian yang nyata, capaian-capaian yang terukur untuk mengatasi masalah dan juga mencegah masalah agar pertumbuhan ekonomi dunia lebih inklusif dan berkelanjutan. Hadirin sekalian, dengan semangat recover together, recover stronger, Indonesia mendorong pembahasan agenda-agenda prioritas dunia. Kita harus memperkuat penguatan arsitektur kesehatan global. Kita harus memfasilitasi dan membiayai transisi energi menuju ekonomi hijau dan mempercepat transformasi ekonomi digital. Indonesia sangat antusias menjalankan peran presidensi G20 untuk berkontribusi kepada dunia. Indonesia akan mendorong sinergi dan kolaborasi, termasuk sinergi dan kolaborasi antar Menteri Keuangan dan Gubernur Bank Sentral G20 dalam merumuskan kebijakan fiskal dan moneter yang tepat untuk mengatasi permasalahan dunia. Saya menaruh harapan besar pada para Menteri Keuangan dan Gubernur Bank Sentral G20. Saya berharap pertemuan ini akan menghasilkan langkah-langkah sinergis dan kolaboratif yang konkret, yang segera bisa dilaksanakan dan segera tampak hasilnya. Recover together, recover stronger. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Be unto you all. And that was the remark from the President of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Jokowi Widodo.
Now, I would like to invite, before we start our session, we are going to take a virtual as well as real family photo. So you are going to be in the same seat, but I would like you to show your smile. So you open your mask for this photo session. Okay, let me count. 1, 2, 3. Again, 1, 2, 3.
All right, we're currently taking a look at live pictures here of the meeting conference.
Really becoming so happy. So let's start with our first session, which is we are going to discuss on the global economy and health. My colleague, in discussing the first session of the first G20 Finance Minister and Central Bank Governor, you also notice from the issue note, this session will focus in.
All right, as the meeting is now ongoing with the first sessions of global economy and health
collaboration. I'm not going to read, but
we will continue to listen in
brief
on the conference.
Remark on the this strongly, others still lag behind. We also face supply disruption and also emergence of the new wave.
We do experience a stuttering issue there with the live feed from the conference room of the first FMCBG meeting, but it will continue now.
Recovery, which is also coming from the unevenness of the access to vaccine, therapeutic and diagnostic, this is still quite a challenging task for all of us to have recovery together. We also face with the macroeconomic policy space, which is narrowing, or in this case, uneven. So for all of us, we are going to discuss the exit strategy from the current situation, monetary, fiscal, and financial sector, that allowing us to continue support the recovery process, but at the same time, also restoring the sustainability of each instrument. So with that, we also would like to see the scarring effect of the pandemic, which is going to be very critical for each country to see how we are going to make sure the recovery, which is going to be broad-based. Another issue, which is also very important, is of course the issue related to the finance and health. This pandemic, I do hope, will provide momentum to increase the capacity of our health systems at the national level, which is very critical and has been tested, very difficult and challenging during this pandemic time. But we also know that the pandemic cannot be addressed by one country only. And that's why regional as well as global level collaboration and health capacity is very important. As you may all aware that we has established the G20 Joint Finance Health Task Force last year, which focus on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and responses, addressing the gap in financing and the critical roles for health and finance minister to coordinate their effort to prevent, mitigate, and respond to health events with cross-border potential. So we are pleased to have the co-chair of the task force to report on the progress of the G20 Joint Finance Health Task Force activities. And in this session, I would like to discuss with you all how we are going to be able to continue advancing this work. Before we start with the report, I would like to start with the housekeeping.
All right, so that was the first session commencing of the first finance ministers and central bank governors meeting taking place at Jakarta Convention Center. And just a few moments ago, we've listened in to what the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani Indrawati, had to say over the first ever ministerial level meeting here in Jakarta. A couple of key points that will be discussed, among others, detailed further elaborations and derivations of the three key issues proposed by the government of the Republic of Indonesia. And she also mentions on how a few key factors have also hampered the pace of economic recovery around the globe, which includes the concurrently high prices of food and also the interest rates, unstable interest rates in between banks across the globes, and also the emergence of new variants of COVID-19, as well as also the climate change issues and geopolitical tensions around the globe that will continue to hamper the efforts towards economic recovery globally. And also she stresses on how a better and stronger global health architecture needs to be created, particularly in regards to the pandemic preparedness should the world encounter another pandemic in the future. And another key point there was in relevance to the sustainable energy transitions, which is the readiness of countries around the globe, particularly world major economy, in creating low carbon global economy, which is a huge undertaking, a great challenge. It requires enormous capital and financial support to be able to do this. As in the case of Indonesia, we have plenty. We're sitting on such a rich coal reserve, and it will require a correct policy to be able to transition to greener economy. This is a critical step for the country as well. And then right after, we'll listen in on the highlights of the agenda of the meeting delivered by the Governor of Central Bank of the Republic of Indonesia, Bank Indonesia, Perry Warjiyo, which highlighted on how new variants and also the inequality of vaccine distributions around the globe has caused an uneven economic recovery. This needs to be addressed also here at the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting. And he also mentioned on the capital flow from emerging markets and a couple of risks that needs to be addressed in regards to the exit strategy post the pandemic of COVID-19. And now we have a special dialogue for you hosted by our very own Monica Cornedo just late last night around the deliberations of the finance and also central bank deputies taking place last night. Let's listen in to the conversations of our very own Monica Cornedo with a few officials there over at the deputy meeting last night, which were the G20 Finance Deputy Indonesia, WMP Saputra, and also G20 Central Bank Deputy of Bank Indonesia, Dodi Budi Waluyo. Let's take a look.
The second Finance and Central Bank Deputies meeting, or FCBD, held in Jakarta yesterday, 15 until 16 February 2022, is led by two leaders, deputies from Indonesia. Let me greet Bapak WMP Saputra, the G20 Finance Deputy Indonesia. Hello, Pak. And also Bapak Dodi Budi Waluyo, G20 Central Bank Deputy Indonesia. Hello, Pak.
Hi.
Yes, so I would like to know the overview of the first and second day of the FCBD. Maybe I'll ask Pak WMP.
Thank you very much. On the second Finance Central Bank Deputies meeting here in Jakarta, on the G20 under Indonesia Presidency, we would like to discuss the communique drafting. Basically, this communique drafting draws upon the 6 agendas what we have been proposing so far. And we would like to discuss around 14 paragraphs concerning the global macroeconomic conditions, as well as some other agenda like sustainable finance, digital payments, financial inclusion, as well as the international taxation. This is for the agenda for the 2 days of our meeting.
So there are several agendas, Pak Wempi. So I'll move maybe to Pak Dodi. Pak Dodi, as the leader with Pak Wempi, how did you see what are the main challenges that you see that need to be proposed to the minister?
I think the main challenges among 20 members is like how we can able to get consensus. The spirit of compromise is much, I will say, it's easy, sometimes it's difficult because it's different intention, it's different interests coming from all the members. But I think G20 is already been quite long time. I think all the members coming here in order to have a consensus for having the communique. And I think we already, as already mentioned by Pak Wempi, 6 priority agenda is under Indonesian presidency. That one we want to bring up as a result for the next minister governance meeting tomorrow and the day after tomorrow.
Pak Dodi and Pak Wempi, you both are the leaders of this meeting, but you are also the delegates from Indonesia. What did you propose representing our country, Indonesia, in this meeting? Maybe I'll ask Pak Wempi and Pak Dodi could add more.
Actually, we are proposing to highlight our priority agendas, as mentioned before. The first on macroeconomic conditions, we propose the exit strategy. This is on the global macroeconomic policy coordination in the short term and as well as in the midterm and long term. The second agenda on digital payments, and this is on the digital era. I think we are proposing the what you call it, the central bank digital currency as well as cross-border payments. On agenda about the sustainable finance, there are some concern on transition finance framework as well as how to incentivize on the public policy levers to enhance the accessibility and affordability of sustainable finance instruments. And as well as on the international taxation, we bring our idea to get a consensus so that the Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 on the taxing right or the multinational corporation could be got into consensus to sign the multilateral convention.
Yes, any more you want to add more, Pak Dodi?
More, I think it's already mentioned by Pak Wempi. I think the one left is like financial sector regulation. I think that's the point. I think facing by all the members, how we able to make sustainable and also strong of the financial sectors. I think during the pandemic, financial sector is one of the sectors is got hit because of the pandemic. Some of the leverage from the banking sectors coming from the big corporate. So I think that's one of the priority that Indonesia wants to have like a consensus how we make a stable, strong financial sector during the pandemic.
The theme itself for G20 Indonesia 2022 is recover together, recover stronger. Yep. And that's also what is discussed in this meeting to recover the economic. Could really the G20, this meeting especially, push the recovery of the economics of Indonesia especially?
Yes, I think that's one, the agenda number 1, how we able to exit smoothly among the countries, because we know now there is a unsynchronized of the growth. One country ahead of the other countries, because of course one of the issue coming from the one country had vaccination rather than the other countries. So the point here is in terms of the policy, I think advanced countries need to consider their policy when they want to exit, when they want to withdraw from the accommodative policies. They have to consider the impact, the spillover to other countries, which is emerging countries. So topic number 1 is when we are saying the exit policy, exit strategy is very important in terms of us, emerging countries, how we able to adapt, able to reduce the impact, the spillover from the advanced countries. I think this is, I will say, among the 6, this is one of the current issue. The short term is much more important.
But as you mentioned, we have different countries, different impacts, different goals also, and situations. How then you take or to make an agreement of this?
I think the point is we don't want to make a binding commitment, because this is a country context is very important. The principle is that we have to consider the different situation country by country, but at least we're able to communicate about the condition, about the policy. I think that's much important because at this time, for emerging, I think we have to consider when the advanced countries will increase their interest rate. So they are ready if there is a volatilities in the capital out from the country back to the major countries. I think that's the point. So there's again no one fits all. I mean, I think the policies should be based on the country context.
Yes, Pak Dodi, and I'll move on to Pak WMP. Pak WMP, how, from your perspective, how could this communique or this meeting benefits Indonesia?
The communique highlights the importance of the presidency's agenda and to be conveyed to all members. So we see that global economic recovery is continuing, but asynchronous due to the widespread COVID Omicron in this case, and also the vaccination challenges. That is why by using the theme of Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Indonesia would like to promote these agendas to the global level, to highlight, to underline the macro policy coordination to be well coordinated and well communicated so that it could be balanced between developing and developed nations. And at the same time, we would like to give also our priority agendas at the national level, which is focused on the global health architecture, transition of the energy and digital transformation. So we convey these priority agendas as well as to see what is the common interest at the global level.
Yes, Pak Dodi and Pak WMP, this is just the second meeting, and there are still more several meetings for this FCBD. How or what goals you want to achieve through these meetings overall?
Okay, the goal, of course, the goal for the G20 itself, under the deputies and under the minister governance central banks. I think the goal is already stated. We have a 6 priority agenda. This is the goal. The other things is, of course, we want to showcasing our achievement, our progress in terms of Indonesia to the people, to the domestic and also to the global. So we have, I will say, side event of the main meetings. I think the side event done together with MOF, with the central banks, we make it from month to month during 12 months of the G20. So the side event will showing all the progress, let's say, regarding the digitalization, regarding the payment system, regarding the sustainable finance. We will showcase to the global, to the domestic, about what we have done so far. I think, so please, everybody, this is like an open event for public to come and join with the seminar. It could be leaders talk, it could be casual talks, it could be high-level discussion. And we already put under the booklet of the side event for the 1 year. So please join and then please, I will say, contribute and also discuss with all the, speakers. And also I will bring all the speakers not only from domestic but also from the overseas.
Pak WMP, what about you? Is there anything you want to add more, or is there anything you want to deliver to the viewers?
Yeah, actually, as a leadership of this presidency, Indonesia have to optimize the role of its leadership as well as to bring our national interests, as I mentioned before, on the health issues, on the digital transformation, as well as on the energy transition, so that after the G20 presidencies, the consensus-based statement and communique will draw a good statement as well as a good implementation of the policy. We can benefit to all people in Indonesia, and I think for this leadership, we can also showcasing, as Pak Dodi mentioned, about our successes, not only to tackle the current pandemic, but also about the economic recovery.
Bapak WMP Saputra, the G20 Finance Deputy Indonesia, and Bapak Dodi Budiwaluyo, the G20 Central Bank Deputy Indonesia. Thank you so much for your time, and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, we hope that the deputies could deliver a great communique to the ministries to be discussed to help recover the economy of the world, especially the G20 members countries.
Well, Monica Coronado there in conversations with the finance deputy and also the deputy governor of Central Bank of Indonesia, Bank Indonesia, on the outcomes, expected results of the first ever finance ministers and central bank governors meeting taking place today in Jakarta Convention Center. And that wraps up today's special report here on TVRI World. Look forward for more updates on this event. We'll be back to you at 2:30 p.m. today here on Jakarta time on high-level seminar on strengthening global health architecture live from TVRI World. In the meantime, I'm Rahmat Idris signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye for now.